Hello everyone. Thank you for your patience. Do me a favor and let me know if you are watching live at our delayed hour, or if you're watching this on a replay. I am Dr. Jordan Leisure. I'm the owner of North Shore Proactive Health, a state-of-the-art wellness clinic in the northern Chicago suburbs. I am a functional medicine trained physician. I am a chiropractor by education. And we are talking today about how food is impacts your stress levels, and also how your stress will impact your food choices. And I would just like to take a deep breath with everyone, because I have had one of those additionally stressful afternoons with a toddler. If anyone can relate, cheers. These are my wedding flutes. This is not champagne. If I had it in the house, I'd probably be drinking it. It's kombucha. It's fermented tea. Stay tuned if you don't know what it is. We're going to be discussing it. And if anyone has an extra SCOBY at home, I'm going through way too much of this, so I need to start making it myself. So let's do like a porch SCOBY pickup. This is Health Aid kombucha. Check it out. This is Bubbly Rose. If you haven't had it, I highly recommend it. Okay, so we are talking today live from my kitchen about food. And if anybody is having a particularly stressful day and there's a topic that you think would help you immediately, if you have something that's pressing, send me a message or post about it. That's sort of why we've taken a left-hand turn off of some what we were discussing before, were some suggestions or some questions from viewers. So we're actually going to do a talk on health and children, which, for those of you that don't know, I practice with my sister, Dr. Jade, and her subspecialty is pediatrics and prenatal care. So we cover that quite routinely in our office, and it's one of our favorite topics, because whether you realize it or not, you really have the power to, let's say, control your children's behavior. And let's make sure we're more diligent in how we do that. With all my additional stress today, I'm wearing my Mucky Duck shirt. For those of you that don't know, it's a hidden gem on Captiva Island in Florida. I also have my grandfather's necklace on, because it brings me some peace in stressful times. So if you see me running around in this, that's why. And I wear amber. So if you're not familiar with amber, it is said to be a stone that helps to block the bad juju. And as a chiropractor, obviously I get paid to listen to people complain all the time. So that is my goal. You know, I'm very empathetic, and unfortunately I absorb a lot of their complaints, their concerns, their conditions. So if I see a lot of shoulder pain in one day, I go home and I'm like, God, my shoulder hurts. So I figured, with all of the stress going on in the world and everyone's vibration being a little bit off, I would go back to wearing my amber all the time. So if you find solace in some of those things, you know, I've been a physician, and I've been known to tell patients that if I thought that jumping on one foot and rubbing your nose would make you feel better, I would suggest it, because honestly, there's power in a little bit of everything that we do. So let's keep our energy, let's keep our vibration high, let's keep our energy up. And let's talk food today. So we are discussing why we want comfort foods. And again, for those of you, if you've never seen me lecture, I am going off of some notes today, because when I speak, I do it in a circular fashion. There's so much information that I want to get out, and there's so much that I want to teach you, that I have a tendency to go off on tangents as opposed to lecture in a linear fashion. So I recommend you take notes. If there's questions, let me know. Feel free to post them live. This is a lot more fun when it's interactive. And if you have feedback, if there's something you like or you don't like, or the level of what I'm discussing is too basic or it's too advanced, I appreciate that feedback too, because we are going to be here every single day together, at least until this is done. If people are enjoying it, maybe longer. We'll see. But we are going to combat the stress we're currently under. We're going to put you in a really good place for wellness once whatever this is over. That's my goal with this. So let's talk about food. Comfort foods defined primarily as, I think we all know, we don't even need this defined, high fat, high sugar, high salt foods have been shown to alter stress hormone signals in the brain. So we've said that on a couple previous occasions. When we are consuming those things, it releases serotonin. So it's similar to a drug. That's why we want it. That's why we like it. And this suggests that these foods act as physiological therapies. We're self-medicating for elevated stress signals. And not surprising, greater emotional eating is linked to higher perceived stress. And I will tell you right now, that's what all of us are under, is perceived stress. Now, please do not misinterpret what I'm saying. That does not mean that the virus is not real. It doesn't mean that people aren't really getting sick. It doesn't mean that people aren't really dying. But for those of us, especially that have that are practitioners that own a brick and mortar business, those individuals in the hospitality industry, we all have a lot of perceived stress because we don't know what's going to happen. So that is elevating our cortisol levels and making us choose some of these not so great foods for us. And the other problem, I will say problem, with comfort foods is that we all have a emotional correlation to food. And that's part of the reason I wanted to do this talk from my kitchen, was because not only for you, but you are spending a lot of time with your kids these days. So you can help to create healthy habits for them as well as healthy memories. And I would hope that you're able to, and this doesn't have to be 100% of the time, but at least some of the time, make those memories healthy options. And what do I mean by that? On a regular basis prior to, 10 days ago when all of this started happening, I saw a lot of pictures online of parents with their kids getting ice cream and parents with their kids getting donuts. And that's their reward and their time together. Hey, Vanessa, thanks for tuning in. And we do that for ourselves. I think some of us have a tendency to use food as a reward. And what happens in those situations is that your children then correlate happy memories with this comfort food or with these sugary snacks, which in reality, in my estimation, if you're taking your kid to McDonald's as a reward, and maybe we'll lose some followers for me saying this, but essentially you're poisoning your children. So be very deliberate and very cognizant of the choices that you're making for yourself and also your kids. Because everything you put in your mouth is signaling your body to either make you healthier or decrease your health and create disease. So when that comes to your children, you are sitting in a very, very powerful place. In our house, Parker has been gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free since birth. When he wants a snack or what he calls a treat, in our house, it's an RX bar. Which was probably a lot healthier before they were bought out by a big box company, but we limit those, of course, as well. I make gluten-free donuts, and I made, what did I just make? Fruit leather. So there's a lot of things that you can do at home that don't take a lot of time, but that you yourself can infuse with love while you are cooking it, and then give it to your children as a healthier alternative to a mainstream sugary snack. So think of that, because again, you're sending their brain little signals, and we'll hit this harder when we're talking about kids and health, but you're controlling their behavior. So if you don't like how they behave, if your children are medicated, if your children are full of anxiety and ADHD and some of the more adult problems that we're seeing, you have the power to stop that or change that. So don't forget. And obviously the same for yourself, which is why we're talking here, all of us adults with this overrun stress. Other stressors, like we talked on Sunday, stressors can be good things and they can be bad things, and they still impart stress on your system. So if you have undergone an extreme weight loss, if you're following, let's say, a keto program and you're not monitored by a physician, you really want to take a look at that, because that can negatively impact this HPA axis that we've been talking about, and your body will no longer be able to respond to stress signals. So you want to be really careful. Obviously, the perceived stress that we talked about before, perceived stress during weight loss and these high dramatic, very quick weight losses actually have a similar effect to perceived stress in the body. Your body doesn't know the difference. Your body doesn't understand that you are purposefully reducing calories. Your body, again, think of itself as an African on the plain, and food is readily available or available in cycles, set cycles that your body gets used to, like the seasons. And if it doesn't, and it may be possible that your body all of a sudden is like, oh my God, I'm starving. And yeah, it's, it works. You lose weight, you look good in your jeans, you look good, for spring break or whatever it may be. But then that in your body realistically is a stress. And so that's why we're having some of this dysfunction that we experience. One of the best things that I can recommend is taking a look at the Mediterranean diet. So if you don't know what that is, it's really limiting your processed carbohydrates. They don't do paleo, for instance. Mediterranean is not the same as eating a paleo diet. They actually do whole grains in some whole grains. In the Mediterranean diet, it's heavy in fish, it's heavy in high quality meats, and heavy in fiber. So like we talked before, making sure that you are having daily bowel movements and getting those toxins out of your body is very, very important. So if you're wondering what to do, if you don't know what to be eating this time, taking a look at the Mediterranean diet may be appropriate for you. They're also a big fan when it comes to regulating your blood sugars, eating breakfast. And again, keto is super hot. It works. People lose weight on it, but so along with keto often goes intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is where you are not eating for anywhere from 12 to 18 hours. Now, when we sleep, we automatically fast. So for those of us that eat dinner at a reasonable time, let's say, 7 o'clock, if you're done eating by 7 o'clock, and then you're waking up in the morning and you're doing breakfast, you're probably fasting for almost 12 hours. And that's kind of standard, but intermittent fasting sometimes, again, kicks it up a notch. Hi, Marianne, thanks for tuning in. Kicks it up a notch and does 18 hours. And that is actually very stressful, again, on the system. So you may notice that it's working for you, you're losing weight, you're feeling good, but that does not necessarily mean that the weight is going to stay off, because when you are experiencing times of either high real stress or high perceived stress, as we are right now, you will have a tendency to gain that weight back, even if you're following the same protocols that have worked for you in the past. So you want to be really careful. I wanted to touch on a couple things about how this inflammatory signaling works. So one would expect chronic elevations of inflammation-induced cortisol eventually downregulates the APA axis, and glucocorticoid resistance in key tissues and immune cells can also blunt the anti-inflammatory effect of cortisol. What does all that mean? Essentially, repeated stress downregulates our ability to respond to stress in the first place. And again, that repeated stress can be real or perceived, stress that we're creating in our heads. And then it will also affect specific tissues. So obviously, being in the chiropractic field, we see a lot of individuals that have had or have had repeated cortisone shots. And maybe you can relate to this yourself. You had one once, let's say in your shoulder, and felt great, everything worked. And then your knees started bothering you. They had to do 2-3 shots in your knees without the same effect. So what that means is that your body is no longer as sensitive to that hormone as it should be. You have too much inflammation in your body. So you want to take a look at decreasing that, ideally with some of these food choices like we're talking today. A few other diseases that I wanted to mention that are indicative of the HPA axis, which is your body's ability to respond and absorb those stressors. Some of those diseases are going to be inflammatory bowel disease. So again, too much inflammation going on. You can't respond to stress anymore. What happens to your body? A lot of GI issues. Everything from leaky gut, intestinal permeability, to IBS, Crohn's disease, food allergies. You become more permeable, more susceptible to infection. So let's say that you travel and you come up with a traveler's dysentery, something like that. You have a new bacteria that gets root in your system. You may also get an infection of yeast, an infection of fungus, mold. If your body is functioning as well as it can under normal circumstances, you should be able to fight off those things, just like a virus. But unfortunately, when you're more susceptible, you're essentially creating the perfect opportunity for those things to take root and make a home. Airborne allergies are also a sign of inflammatory overload. Asthma, sinusitis, obesity and metabolic disorders. So again, when you're having that weight gain, especially around the middle. And then finally, cardiovascular inflammation. So almost everything from head to toe can have a correlation to your ability to either absorb those stressors or fight those stressors off. So that's why this is so important for the long run and not just to get you through the next couple weeks. I wanted to touch on a few things that you can use as far as treatment. We talked about supplements yesterday, and we didn't get too much into adaptogens. And I'm sure that some of you have heard that term. And please, just like anything we talked about yesterday, make sure you discuss with your physician. Don't just Google and say, hey, yeah, that sounds good for me. Make sure you discuss with your physician some options as far as adding some of these things in. They're awesome. They're very powerful, which can be kind of scary because the results can be seen very quickly, but they can also interfere if you're on any medications or you're currently experiencing any chronic disease state. So you want to be very aware of what you are taking and what can happen. So adaptogens was actually a term that was termed in 1962, which I didn't know. Learn something new every day. But they are primarily botanicals, and they have the ability to increase non-specific resistance to stress. Which sounds great. Again, for all of us, it is a non-specific reaction. So it's not necessarily if your issue is central nervous system, if there's an issue with the brain and the ability to absorb the stress, or if it's more distal and your adrenals are overrun, it's non-specific reaction. So some samples of these, I'll give you a couple that I work with regularly. I had mentioned rhodiola yesterday. That's a really good one. Ashwagandha is fantastic. So if you are undergoing treatment for anxiety, this may be one that you want to ask your physician about. It's fantastic. Ginseng, licorice root, gotu kola is a good one. Reishi, there's a handful of mushrooms that are very beneficial to the mental state. And these are medicinal, no pun intended. Wild yam is terrific as well. Elderberry. Elderberry is awesome. I use that a lot. I make my own elderberry syrup. I make Parker elderberry gummies. Maybe that's why I had such a meltdown today, was we're out of gummies. Brazilian mushrooms, cordyceps. Cordyceps is a great one I use pretty routinely. It is fantastic for the lungs. So you may see some information about that coming out in the coming days or weeks, that people are utilizing cordyceps under the current situation to help with the strength and vitality of lung output. Individuals that have asthma or other issues that are impacting their lung capacity often see benefits from using that. So I hope that was a quick rundown on our HPA axis and our ability to modify behaviors and affect our input. It's been a rough afternoon for myself, and I'm sure everybody, every day we have ups and downs. A couple things as far as implementing food choices. We talked briefly about minimizing gluten. If there's one thing that you can do in these coming days, it's to minimize how much gluten you're eating. And if you want to be really hardcore about it, unfortunately, gluten is in a lot of products. So it could be in your mustard, it could be in ketchup, a lot of random things, soy sauce. So take a look at your products and make sure you're reading labels while you're doing this. Obviously, the easiest thing is to either not eat bread and pasta or eat gluten-free alternatives. And there's some awesome ones out there. This afternoon, my lunch was from Real Clean Paleo, and it was noodles, fake noodles, made out of, I think, spaghetti squash, something like that, and grass-fed beef. It was absolutely amazing. It was sort of a mock stroganoff. It was terrific. It's one of my favorite things that they do. But that is something that obviously under normal circumstances is going to be on pasta. And this, not only am I doing gluten-free, but I'm also getting the benefit from eating some orange vegetables. What I want everyone, if you have your paper out in front of you, something hugely beneficial, and you can work up to this if you need to, but eating 9 servings fruits and vegetables a day should be your goal. And yes, I said 9. It is not as overwhelming as it sounds if you break it down. One of the easiest ways to do this, make your chart, so write down 3, write down 9, and then put 3, 3, and 3. And again, for those of you just turning in, this is kombucha. It's not champagne, although it should be. So the first 3 that I want you to think of for your day are colors. So do 3 very colorful fruits and vegetables. That could be different colored peppers. It could be different colored apples. You obviously have lots of opportunity when it comes to colors in the rainbow. And if you feel that it would be beneficial, I can share some handouts that I provide to patients so that you can be inspired. I often recommend that patients hang this chart on their fridge so that you can keep track of the colors that you have eaten, and make it a game for kids. Let them pick a different color, that kind of thing. So it's always a lot more exciting when you're able to make things a little bit more inventive. So give that a try when it comes to your 3 colors each day. The next 3 are going to be your deep leafy green cruciferous vegetables. So that may be broccoli, that may be kale. There's lots of options. And anybody that does a shake routinely, you can probably knock out like 4 of these servings, 4 of your 9 in your shake every morning. And a serving, I'm often asked, what is a serving size? And it varies depending on what you're eating. So if you think of an apple, we eat the majority of our fruits and vegetables organic. I follow the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen. Take a look at that. I'll share the updated EWG recommendations on those when we get done with the video. But an apple, for instance, should be like the size of your fist. It shouldn't be, like the size of a softball. And you'll notice a tremendous difference if you're buying organic or not. They look like mutant fruits. They're getting so big. The other thing that you can look for in creating your shakes is using organic frozen vegetables, and that's what I do pretty routinely. I keep it nice and simple. Obviously it's going to last longer, but I'll use frozen spinach, frozen organic spinach. Spinach is one of the ones you want to make sure you're buying organic. Frozen spinach, frozen broccoli, and add that to my shake with maybe half of a banana and some berries. And right there I've got almost, again, like I said, 4 servings of fruits and vegetables before like 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's definitely easy to get these 9 in. It's not like you have to be like the old Centrum commercial where you're on the treadmill and you're eating like a head of broccoli and a thing of carrots, if anybody's old enough to remember that, like myself. And then finally, your last 3, I call them odoriferous, just so that I can remember. And I can educate patients on that so that they can remember. But those last 3 are going to be things like your fermented foods. So that might be some kombucha, it might be kimchi. It's going to be things that are going to, like I said, sort of add an odor to your food. It could be garlic, it could be onions, shallots, things like that. So when you break it down that way, it is actually pretty easy to get your 9 servings in. And you can hide some of these things in meals if your spouse or your children or yourself are not fans. Sometimes you have to get creative, but your health is worth it. And if you're able to reset or counterbalance some of these stressors that you're undergoing, believe me, you're going to come out ahead of all of this. So If there are any questions, go ahead and please post them. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what resources you would find beneficial when it comes to your food. We will probably dive deeper into cooking. Like I said before, my friend Annette, I'm probably going to have her do a live cooking for us so that we can see. She is the chef that did the meals for our last women's retreat last October. It was incredible. We were eating vegetarian all weekend, and I think most people didn't even notice. It was fantastic. And then tomorrow, we will probably talk about kids' health, depending on Dr. Jade's availability, because I would like to get her in on that as well. So if you have questions in the meantime, either on food or children's health or suggestions of topics, something that you are struggling with right now, we will, hit some details on sleep, how it impacts your ability to respond to stress. We will talk about physical activity as well. And I wanted to circle back real quickly before I let you guys go. And I apologize for being a little bit scatterbrained today, but I sat with a toddler in a car screaming at the top of his lungs for an hour. And I'm a little burned out. So my brain isn't working. This is your live demonstration of how your brain does not handle stress well. So diet and nutrition signals were what we've been focusing on the last couple days. And we're currently moving into community and purpose signals. So being a chiropractor, I touch people for a living. I give adjustments. We help to make sure that the nervous system is working as well as it should be. If you're familiar with love languages, one of mine is touch. I'm a big fan of hugging. And this quarantine is literally killing me. It is driving me insane. I've seen friends out on the street. This is like making me tear up. For me to have to resist hugging someone as a greeting is very taxing. What also goes along with this is having a hopeful outlook. So I hope that all of you are able to maintain some of that these talks are helping you manage the stress that you're currently under, give you some hope that once this stress is over, you're going to have a really solid handle on your health. That's what I want you coming out of here with. Also, resolving conflicts and forgiveness. So this is a fantastic topic for what's going on right now. I've seen a lot of posts from people talking about letting go of things that don't matter or being more aware of things that do matter. And I think that we can all relate at this time. So if there's someone that you've had a conflict with, now's the time to forgive them. Whether you let them know that or not doesn't matter. You can write them a letter and never send it. You can write them a letter and burn it. Or you can just recognize, verbally, either in your head or out loud, that you forgive them. Because hanging on to that stress and that anger is only hurting you. And then finally, a sense of purpose and belonging. So that's some of what this group is providing for me, is the opportunity to educate. I have a handful of groups that I moderate on different health topics. And I felt the need to start a new one because I figured there were a lot of individuals out there that are dealing with stress that they don't know how to manage, or new and accelerated levels of stress. So as always, I would appreciate if you click above, and whether it's you share one of the videos, maybe not this one because I know it wasn't as spot on as my other ones, or just share the group, because the information provided may just, save a life. And that's the goal with this. The virus is real. How damaging it's going to be, we will see. But I don't think that any of us can argue with the economic impact that this is having on an individual scale as well as a global scale. And that, I think, is going to be more harmful for a lot of us than the virus itself. So let's give everybody a little bit of hope. Let's give everybody something to focus on, their health, and have a terrific Tuesday afternoon. So again, questions, message me privately if there's something that you want to discuss or a topic idea that you have. If you have feedback, please do that as well, and share this with some friends so that we can grow our support. If there are foods that you find are helping you relax, hopefully healthy ones, feel free to share. If there's recipes, feel free to share. There's another free download on our website. I just put up today. It is a week of meal plans. So it's a week-long meal plan. It's recipes. It's a shopping list. And it is designed to be easy, so everything can be cooked in under 30 minutes. I know that all we have right now is time, but you don't need to be Wolfgang Puck, because there's other things I'm sure everybody wants to be doing. So you can do these meals. Is wine a food? No, Vanessa, wine is not a food. But you can share your suggestions. You can do a Facebook Live wine tasting. I'm sure everybody would love that. So if you guys need some ideas for food, check out that free download. Take a look on the website and get that for yourself. And it doesn't have to just be used right now. If you download it and you like it, add that into some of your family staples. So I love you all. Thanks for bearing with me under this exhausting afternoon. But again, this is what's going to happen to all of us for the next couple weeks. We're going to ebb and flow. Thank you so much for doing the Marianne. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And Christy, wine does come from a grape. It does. And technically it's a fermented food. So, the two of you have some very valid points right there. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.